American half pound of 2 pure beef patties, lettuce, tomato.
Singles going steady.
This is Singles Going Steady, the podcast that's dedicated to exploring great singles with a particular eye to the punk, new wave, and DIY eras of the last century. I'm Steve McGowan.
And I'm Adrienne and Meddock, and we're in a band, the Beef People, who released a single in 1986 on our own label, Zub Records. But we're record collectors and passionate especially about the expression of pop music perfection that is the single recording, exploring the mystery of what makes for great singles what propelled us to begin this podcast. And this is episode of Singles Going Steady number 107. 107. And we have a single that's not really known as a single.
That's right, because it was never released in the U.S.
But this was the first single I think the Pixies released in the U.K.
The band is the Pixies, or Pixies as they like to call themselves, and Gigantic is the single.
Gigantic is the single.
From 1988 on 4AD Records in the U.K.
Right. So we've got an American band on the UK label 4AD, single only released in the UK. And you know, it kind of surprises me that Pixies has gathered so much sort of popular consciousness, right?
Right.
They seem to have a lot of attention. Not that they don't deserve it, but they're kind of an unusual band to have sort of the mid-level success that I think they're enjoying in their career in the 90s and until now.
There's no doubt they're the critics' darlings in the UK.
Right, but that seems to be the kiss of death, I would think, for U.S. success.
Yeah, well, could be. This is from the Surfer Rosa record. It was slightly redone, remixed by Gil Norton instead of Steve Albini for the single. The single was only available on a 12-inch or a CD single.
Right, so late 80s, so things were done a little bit later by that time, and the single was already sort of becoming a thing of the past.
Right.
But what a great song this is.
It really is.
And both Kim Deal writing at those days as Mrs. John Murphy, kind of her joke on how it was traditional for women to introduce themselves in some circles as Mrs. their husband's name, right? So she thought that was a pretty funny way to be playing her performance name as Mrs. John Murphy.
Right, and written with, of course, Black Francis, Charles Kitteridge, known as Black Francis for reasons unknown.
And so you got the two principal vocalists as the songwriters here.
Yeah, but it's really Kim's song.
And Kim just dominates both with her very ethereal gothic sort of vocal and just that nonstop bass playing.
Yes, the same bass line throughout the whole thing, and it's really works.
Yeah.
So why don't we listen to it?
Oh, let's do.
From 1988, Pixies and Gigantic on 4AD Records.
And we're listening to which version?
The Gil Norton version.
Okay. So this was the
actual single version, yep.
And this I know, his teeth as white as snow. What a gas it was to see him walk her every day into a shady place. The lips she said, hey Polly, 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 let's have a ball. Hey Polly, 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 let's have a ball. Hey Polly, 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 let's have a ball. Gigantic, gigantic.
So this being on 4AD, which is a pretty hip British label, had the Cocteau Twins, among others. A lot of, Lush.
It was a very arty label,
yeah,
right?
And this is a great song. Like we talked about, you've got the undeniable bass line. You've got her great vocal. Sometimes she's sounding kind of gothy, sometimes like a little girl.
And I mean gothy in the southern gothic
Right,
sense, gothy in the
yes.
spooky sense.
Right.
Spooky sense.
Exactly.
The spooky.
Spooky. And just, it's great, and it's so catchy, and it's got that crazy Joey Santiago feedback going through it, where he was the king of doing that with his guitar, making those weird noises. And when the two of them sing together, Kim and Black Francis, it just works. It really makes the thing soar. Great song, really.
Yeah, this is what you want in a single, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it sort of encapsulates what the band is and does and what they're good at, and it's catchy and it's compelling. It's kind of mysterious,
Yes.
right? You want to learn more.
Yes, exactly. So we were talking about the artiness of 4AD and the covers. This has a very arty cover.
Right.
Like
The
all
sleeve
early
design.
stuff.
4AD had a sort of an in-house designer, Von Oliver. Here we are in the recording this at the end of 2019. He
Yes.
sadly just passed.
Just passed away, yes. He did the Doolittle cover. He did a bunch of Cocteau Twins covers. Pretty
Really
much everything on 4AD.
Responsible for that 4AD look
yeah.
that you probably running through your mind.
Right.
We'll,
and
of
the
course, have
Breeders,
links.
yeah. So it's sad, but they had their own look, their own kind of ethos, and it was very arty and very cool. And it's a shame that someone like that is gone. It really is.
And it's interesting that just reading a little bit about the song, Kim Deal said that it was really inspired by a Broadway play become a film, which is Crimes of the Heart.
Right.
And I was racking my brain. I know that I went to college with someone who was like the cousin of Beth Henley. I think somebody I did theater with in my short-lived drama major days. And so Beth Henley was a Southern playwright who did Crimes of the Heart and I think Miss Firecracker and there's some others that really had a lot of this Southern Gothic viewpoint.
Kind of two steps away from Flannery O'Connor.
Right.
Sort of thing.
But, sort of
a little bit more
the
mainstream.
70s, 80s, very female-centered. So, it was interesting to see that as her sort of stepping off point for this song. Because, it truly is like a Gothic Southern, there's murder and romance and kind of get all that sort of lurking creepiness.
And voyeurism in it.
And certainly voyeurism.
Definitely. She also mentioned, talking about the song, that she was proud of it. It had like a Lou Reed progression in it, she said, and she was really happy about that. So when you mix Lou and Southern Gothic, you're bound to get something heady.
And I think they did. I think they got that. This is what makes this a great single. Is it has all those things wrapped into one.
And the early Pixies were just huge in Britain. There's no doubt about it. Surfer Rosa, Come On Pilgrim. I'm thinking of Doolittle, was the biggie. And, of course, everybody claimed that they ripped them off. So, Nirvana famously said that Smells Like Teen Spirit was their Pixie song, doing that loud, fast, loud thing. But they continued to put out a lot of really interesting stuff.
And of course, Kim left the band and formed the Breeders with her twin sister,
who are also amazing. And put out some great singles themselves. So the Pixies did well. Maybe not. I guess the last thing I heard, they were on tour with Weezer. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but
that doesn't seem like a natural alliance.
Yeah, but half of the crowd and half of the crowd, I guess. But this is a great single. It's a great first single. I don't know if I mentioned, but they were from Boston originally, where they formed in the Boston area. They were all going to school up there. And
hard not to. You can't swing a cat without hitting a college, right?
Exactly. So, do we hear anybody covering this song?
I was thinking of, with the strong female vocal and bass, and I thought of Tina Weymouth. I think I keep going to her. But yeah, I think Tom Tom Club. That'd be a really interesting
funky version.
Yeah, a funky version. Would maybe hear that.
Yeah, I would like to hear Fountains of Wayne do it.
Not Weezer.
No.
We have the two bands swap on the same bill.
No, they're not. They're not like Weezer. Chris Collingsworth giving it that sad vocal treatment, and the band could certainly play the song. So it would be interesting to hear what they do with it. And
we heard an interesting cover as we were, preparing for the show, which was "OK Go" on a tribute to the Pixies from I think 2007.
Yeah, it was a little dark, but
slower.
Yes, sludgier. Do you have any recommendations for this episode?
My recommendation, I think, is going to be. I've talked a little bit about Dayton, Ohio, and family from Dayton, Ohio, and of course the Deals are now they're based in Dayton. They were really from Piqua, which is a suburb up 75, a little towards Tiddly-doo.
Let's not get too technical
Toledo.
here.
But the Dayton's claim to fame before that would really be the Wright brothers, another set of siblings.
I was thinking of Guided by Voices.
Right. But prior to that, and there's a really good biography on the Wright brothers. By David McCullough. A lot of things, despite the fact that I've been, going to Dayton for, over 50,
forever,
almost 60 years now, and the Wright brothers are sort of ubiquitous, and of course my family's involved in aeronautics, so
because everybody thinks they're from North Carolina because of Kitty Hawk.
Yeah.
If you don't know about them.
Right, but. But of course, they're from Dayton and did a lot of experimental flights in Dayton. There's a national park that has the site of their flying field, and of course, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The Wright is named for the Wright family, and they had an aircraft manufacturer. But yeah, that's a really interesting book, and they were such peculiar guys. And the thing that surprised me is their sister was a real genius and very instrumental in their success as well.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. That's, the McCullough's always pulling out some good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting book.
Okay. Well, my recommendation this episode is Pixies. And, they've kind of had a tough time. They've gone through, their first incarnation. Kim left the band. They were kind of rudderless for a while, and they didn't play. They were
on hiatus.
Pretty much on hiatus, yeah. And then they've come back. They've released some records, and they've gotten pretty scorched in the by the critics. But this last record that they put out, it's called Into the Erie. I wrote about it on our website. You can go there and link to it. I think it's a good record. It's not maybe as good as Surfer Rosa or Doolittle, but they are not the same people. They're not the same band.
Right, and that's such a high standard, right? Yeah,
and I think a lot of especially the British press, that's just, they want them to be like the Ramones and just do the same thing every record, And Francis and the band is all the same except for the bass player. And, they've gone through a lot. He's gone through a divorce, and Joey's been in rehab, and they've grown up. They're grown-ass people now, and the music reflects that, I think. And some of it is very good. So I am my recommendation is you check out the Pixies and Into the Erie.
All right, guys.
And that's probably going to be it for today.
I think it will be.
Singles Going Steady 107. The very influential Pixies. Their gigantic single on 4AD Records in the UK. And thank you for talking with us today.
Absolutely. Bye.
To learn more about the artists and recordings we just talked about, visit our website at zubrecords.com and click on the Singles Going Steady icon.
You'll also find links to the persons, places, and things we recommend, and much more.
You can find episodes of Singles Going Steady on our website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Singles Going Steady is brought to you by the power and majesty of Zub Records. Zub Records. Smart sounds for sharp people.